Alright guys, welcome back to YoSpill, and in tonight's video we're going to be pulling the short block apart and seeing if we broke anything or what we hurt or why there was so much metal in the oil when we pulled it out. With all that metal in the oil, I'm going to be pulling the housings off the turbo. I'm going to be cleaning the turbo out. I'm going to make sure I clean the cylinder head out. I want none of that to get into anything. I'll also be checking the oil pump off camera and everything if I actually plan on rebuilding this motor. At the end of this video, once we pull the short block apart, I will kind of tell you what my thoughts are on what we should do next with this Spirit, because that build we just did was pretty expensive. I'll do a video after this one explaining how much it actually cost to put a 500 plus horsepower Spirit together at your guys' cost, and then kind of what it cost us, because of course you've seen we had trailer park laying around, we had other cars in the background, so we could kind of, you know, use other cars to pull parts off of, and then we had a bunch of parts that we had ordered a while back on sale and stuff like that. So it cost us a lot less than it would cost if, you know, somebody watching these videos just tried to build that car. So I'll do a follow-up video on that, just sitting down and kind of explaining what everything cost and about how much you would spend. But in tonight's video, like I said, we're going to get the oil pan off, we're going to flip the short block over, we're going to knock the rods and pistons out of it, and we're going to look over, see how bad the bearings are, see how bad the oil pan looks, and hopefully we don't find too much carnage. I know there was some metal in the bottom end, but kind of put some plugs through the motor and it kind of started melting itself, so I kind of expected it to kill some bearings as well, and it might have broke the oil pump. We don't know, because the car, like I said, when you will hop that bat on some slicks and it spikes that hard and then you have that much boost going on it, you heard the motor kind of change tones. Stuff was probably going pretty wrong in there. I should have let off. That was my mistake. I blew up a lot of money. I shouldn't have, but it's part of the learning process. So hope you guys are along for the ride, and let's get right into taking the short block apart. So off camera, I pulled all of the accessories off the motor. The oil pump's still on there, but I got the front, the front cover off, the motor mount off, the timing belt off, the alternator off. I got the brackets for it all off. I pulled the oil pan straight off. On the Srt4, the oil pickup actually is here, and then it runs into your oil pump, and then it actually filters through the oil pan. It's like this weird thing that goes down here through the side of the pan. The oil pan itself, you can see all the assembly lube. I did change this oil one time, so I don't expect there to be that much assembly lube still on the bottom of the motor, but apparently that stuff hangs around pretty long. The oil has a little bit of flakes in it, but nothing too bad. And if we go over here to the short block, this is the crank scraper kit that gets rid of the factory balance shafts. If you've never seen inside one of the motors, you'll see inside of one soon. If not, look it up on Google. You can see it. This kit is, I don't even know who produces it. My brother bought it for me so that I could stick it in this motor. But you see here, 2.4 PT. This is actually a PT cruiser motor. This is not an actual Srt4 motor, even though they're the exact same thing. But let's get into popping the oil pickup off, popping off this, and then we can actually see our pistons and rods. And hopefully, the rods are still good. Even if the pistons aren't, hopefully the rods are good. We can use those in another build later on. And the pistons might be pretty good. It might just have, you know, the scuffs from the spark plugs coming apart. But we'll see. We'll get this motor apart, and into the time lapse we will go. Well, boys, we definitely found the problem. That was the cylinder with good compression. That's what happens when you put way too much boost through a motor. The pistons expand farther than they can go. They start hitting the side of the cylinder walls. They actually expand too much. Then it starts destroying the piston itself. And the black stuff that I was thinking was assembly lube is actually just the skirt off the pistons. I forgot that these pistons had that coating on them. But it's the same consistency if you put your finger across it. So that's going to be it for this motor. Actually, all the bearings themselves look fantastic. I'll have to pull the main girdle off and the oil pump off just to make sure the oil pump itself is not broken. But other than the pistons looking completely destroyed, the sleeves still look good. There's a little bit of metal on the top of the sleeve, which I'm sure I could take it to a machine shop and have them overbore it and make sure the sleeves are perfectly round. But yeah, we did some damage to these poor Wiseco pistons. They definitely knew their job. They just weren't ready for the task of 30 plus pounds of boost on a 3-bar map sensor when we were running past the map sensor. For an oil pump that the oil looks so bad, there's literally like no grooves on this thing at all. Nothing that catches your finger. This thing is actually really good shape. So all the bearings still look perfect. I still have to pull the main girdle apart just to check the centers. I mean the main bearings on the crankshaft. But the crank itself looks perfect. The oil pump looks perfect. The rod bearings look perfect. Everything looks fantastic. Another component that I wanted to check out before finishing the video is definitely the turbo. So this is the back side of the turbo. As you see, this is the front housing. That's the back housing over there already taken off. But you can see that the blade still looks perfect. You can definitely tell that it spit some stuff out. There's a little bit of marking right here on the edge, but nothing that the turbo wheel itself actually hits. All the blades are nice and sharp still. There's no like chunks missing out of it. So turbo definitely survived, no issues. There is a little bit of stuff that was in the back housing that I blew out already. As you know, anytime you eat spark plugs or something like that, you should always check the turbo, because if one of these blades is missing a big chunk or something out of it, it will unbalance the turbo, and then you can run into future issues where it comes flying apart or something like that. And the last thing you want to do is have your turbo come apart. We had problems with that on that Neon over there a couple of times due to lack of oil starvation. So yep, turbo's good. Everything looks good. Like I said, bearing wise and oil pump wise, this thing is fantastic. So guys, if you know anything about motors, if your oil pump still looks good, your oil pickup looks good, your filter looks good, it has metal flakes in it, but it's nothing like bearing related, and your pistons look that bad, it was the tune. It was me. I did it. I broke it. I literally, like I said, I don't know if I've said it in this video, I should have let off. As soon as I launched the car and I seen the dash go to 26 or 28.6 and then the dash shut off when I grabbed second gear, I should have let off. The car was not built for 30 plus pounds of boost. It doesn't have a 4-bar map sensor. If it had a 4-bar map sensor, the tune would have kept where it was supposed to be and none of this would have happened. I could have saved myself probably $2,500, maybe more. But saying that, you live and you learn. I'm new to the tuning game. I wanted to be very transparent with you guys. I'm not gonna hide anything. If I break cars, if I blow up cars, you're gonna know about it. I don't care. The haters online are gonna be like, oh, you blew it up, da da da. Sure, cool. Unless you're out there tuning something yourself and you yourself are building it and you yourself are trying to make it go 10s and you tuned it, built it, did everything yourself, then it's a whole different thing. There's people that have been doing this for years and years and years, and stuff happens, stuff breaks. It's a car. So I was hard on myself the first couple of days because I knew I hurt it. I just didn't know how bad I hurt the motor. So bearing wise, mechanical wise, I wouldn't say it's good, but the bearings are good. The oil pump is good. The block itself looks good. I could definitely take it to the machine shop, have him hone it, or have him just open up the bores. So a Srt4 piston is 87.5 millimeter. They do sell 88 millimeter pistons, but then the sleeves are thinner. So I don't know if I want to go with that option, or if I want to do what I've been considering is option 2. So trailer park, as you guys know, went 1130 at 123 on a stock motor. Actually, this stock motor. As you see, the oil pump is still there. Everything is, this motor has never been apart until now. I never took any of this apart when I put the pistons and rods in it. I literally dropped pistons and rods in it, started sending it on the dyno with a better head. So option 2, besides redoing all of this with all built parts and everything, option 2 is I have another stock short block laying around. I personally don't think I need a fully built motor to put a Spirit in the 10s. I want to try to put a Spirit in the 10s on a stock short block. Maybe throw head studs in it, maybe throw ARP rod bolts in it, because those are where the factory rods are known for breaking. But I want to get a OEM Srt4 short block, put a stock cylinder head on it, no port work at all, slap my turbo kit back on it, and see if I can put it in the 10s. Now, I know this motor didn't go 10s. The next one I'm going to be a lot more cautious with, because it's going to have stock pistons and rods, and I will take my time. I'm not going to go on the second pass out and send it to the moon. I'm going to, in my head, be thinking about this right now of when I blew this one up. I do not want to do this again. This is going to be a costly process to me, and it hurt me personally, my pride, of blowing a motor up for basically no reason, just because I was not smart enough to let off. Something weird. I've never, well, I can't say I've never broken a turbo Dodge motor before like this, ever. I've broken a rod before because of lack of oil pressure, but I've never actually hurt the motor with the tune because of something I did. So it's a catch-22, I guess, when you start building and tuning your own cars. But yeah, oil pump's good, bearings are good. Crank looks fantastic. The block is still in good condition. Oil squirters, everything are still there. Like I said, would need to get it honed if I want to rebuild this motor. If I go the stock motor route, I might pull the pistons and rods out, open up the ring gap. I'll let you know all about that in the next video when I make up my mind. I do have a set of, I believe, BC stage 2 drop-in cams where I don't have to put springs and retainers in the head. So I might do a stock short block with rod bolts, head studs, and BC2 stage drop-ins, and then my old turbo kit, old manifold, old everything, and see how different it is than this motor was with pistons and rods and the built head. So I've got a lot of options in my head without spending a lot more money of taking this all back to the machine shop. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys are still watching at this point, and until the next one, remember, let off next time when you see the boost gauge go past where it's supposed to go. You guys are the greatest.